$413 billion is the market cap of Europe's biggest company. And no, this isn't LVMH, which is home to so many luxury brands. This is a healthcare company. And this company has been on a rise for a miracle drug. Now, is this a fad or is this a glimpse into the future? Join me as I explore the business case behind the world's latest miracle drug. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Malone and I'm interested in the business of property, the business of healthcare, and the business of changing my life. So let's get straight into it. So what exactly is Ozempic? Now, I want you to imagine if you could have something that could go into your body and just suppress your appetite to stop you from eating. And essentially that's what Ozempic does in the body. Because it suppresses your appetite, it makes you not want to eat. It makes you feel full. So therefore, you're not going to eat as much as you usually would. And as a result, you lose weight in the process. This sounds like a dream, right? You could easily lose weight by taking this miracle drug. However, there is a lot of side effects which are being reported, such as people feeling nauseous, people vomiting, people having constipation, and the price tag for Ozempic at the moment is pretty hefty. This is going to set you back between $1,000 to $1,300 every single month just so you can be on this treatment. So for context, before we go any further, I want to clear up some terminology, but I will be using it interchangeably throughout the video just based on the public's perception. But WeGovy is the drug that Novo Nordisk made to treat weight loss. And then Ozempic is a drug which was made to treat type 2 diabetes specifically. But Ozempic is the household name that most people know and understand and kind of use interchangeably for weight loss. So at times in this video, I might mention Ozempic when in reality I'm talking about WeGovy, or I might talk about WeGovy when we're talking about Ozempic, but hopefully you get the gist. So to put obesity into perspective, there is 1 billion people in the world that suffer from obesity at the moment, and it's reported that there is about 500 million people in the world that suffer from type 2 diabetes. This is a staggering number, and the economic impact that this has is absolutely huge. In America, it was said that the economic impact of obesity was about $1.7 trillion, with the healthcare costs related to obesity costing $173 billion every single year. I think you can see that this is a serious problem and any potential solutions need careful considerations. As we know, the rates of obesity are growing in so many parts of the world, so when we are thinking about creating treatments and creating drugs to be able to treat obesity, this is something that we have to take into consideration. More on that later in the video. And interestingly, there is 1 billion people that suffer from obesity in the world. However, in 2021, only 2 million prescriptions of Ozempic were made in the USA. But this number is fastly growing year on year. And I wonder where we will be in say 10 years with the amount of prescriptions of this drug. So very early results of people taking Ozempic are promising, but is it too early for us to call this a magic drug? For us to understand how we got to where we are today, I think it's very important to take us back to the past, where Novo Nordisk started. So the Danish giant started over a century ago, and the original mission of the company was to produce insulin, and this was because this was a problem that was affecting one of the founders at the time. Insulin was only obtainable from animals, so there was always a supply issue because the producers had to be friends with farmers, had to be friends with butchers, just so they could be able to get the animal products required to be able to make insulin. The company continued to grow and grow and grow and become established as a company that produces insulin in the Scandinavian region. The really interesting thing about the company's business model was that they sold insulin at cost in the Scandinavian region. However, the profits that they would make from exporting it outside of Scandinavia is what they would use to reinvest back into their foundation. Now, this foundation was offering out grants, it was funding research and development to be able to improve diabetes care in the region. I think another interesting thing about the journey is that Novo and Nordisk were two separate companies. This was because of a fallout that happened early on in the company journey, and essentially they competed with each other to produce insulin. However, there came a day where they two realized that they should just put their forces together to be able to just create the products together instead of competing. So up until about 1980, insulin was produced by animal products. However, in the 1980s, Genentech came through with recombinant DNA technology, which allowed you to be able to produce insulin in a lab. This allowed people to produce insulin at scale, and this is where Novo Nordisk started to work in the early 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s. And if we fast forward to today, Novo Nordisk in 2023 was the largest company in Europe. Their market cap is bigger than the entire GDP of Denmark, which is showing you the financial muscle that they have in this space. And a large part of this is due to Ozempic going on a crazy meteoric rise in recent times. So how did they make this meteoric rise? Weight loss drugs have been around for so many years, however the side effect profile was often a lot worse than the potential gain of losing weight, which is why it's always been difficult for people to have weight loss drugs readily available. The other shift that has happened in modern society is just a general conversation around obesity. The CDC declared obesity as a health condition, which was something which was not previously spoken about. So there's two dynamics when it comes to the conversation of obesity. There is one side of the fence which say that obesity is a choice. Obesity is lifestyle factors that people have essentially made, and this is the result that they're essentially getting from being obese. And then there is another side of the fence, like many health systems today, which acknowledge that obesity is a health condition which needs treating due to a dysregulation of hormones in the body, which may not suppress your appetite as readily as somebody who doesn't suffer from obesity. Other part that allowed Ozempic to make a meteoric rise was the recent pandemic which we've had. People's health came to the surface and a lot of people started to see the impact that obesity could have on health outcomes, especially during the pandemic. This has made people want to take more of an active effort to do something about their weight to be able to reduce it. However, it's important to note that whilst people wanted to make an active effort to reduce their weight in the last 5 years, Novo Nordisk did actually spend $884 million on TV commercials in this time. So some people might say that Novo Nordisk essentially pumped so much money into putting adverts out there that people became conscious of their weight and knew that there was a treatment that they could try as a result of seeing TV commercials everywhere. And one thing for sure, I was in America last year and the way they put TV adverts about medications is absolutely insane. I think anybody watching this video from Europe or from Africa or from the Middle East, until you see the way they advertise medications in America, like, it's truly remarkable. The story behind Ozempic is really interesting because this is one of the first times in my experience that I've ever seen a drug almost take a direct-to-consumer approach. There is a massive cultural phenomena behind Ozempic, from Jimmy Kimmel even joking about Ozempic at the Oscars.
Looks so great. When I look around this room, I can't help but wonder, is Ozempic right for me?
Or hearing whispers of people such as Elon Musk or Oprah Winfrey being on weight loss drugs as well. And we can't ignore this shift because what we see with a lot of medications is that doctors almost recommend medications to patients. But with this cultural shift that is going on, do you think we create a world where patients essentially going to their doctors to say, actually, I've done all of my research, I've seen a friend, I've seen Elon Musk taking Ozempic, and I want to be on Ozempic too? Does this create almost a direct-to-consumer phenomena? On the other side of that is that when people are able to see popular figures taking these drugs like that, is maybe we create a world where there is almost a dark side to it, where there is an off-label use that comes into the mix because people will now be getting Ozempic in places which may not be licensed, which may not be regulated to be selling these drugs. And unfortunately, the evil people out there in the world may see this as an opportunity to capitalize because of how many people are in dire need. So is this a fad, or is this a glimpse into the future of weight loss management? It's said that by 2031, that $31 billion a year will be spent on diets and trying to lose weight. And what role do we have for drugs like Ozempic, for drugs like WeGovy, to play a part in this space? Other people raise ethical concerns when it comes to Ozempic, like, is Ozempic just masking deeper insecurities that people have with themselves? And are Novo Nordisk seeing this as an opportunity for them to capitalize on? There is things that Novo Nordisk are doing, such as lobbying government and putting in health policy when it comes to the space of obesity. On one hand, one could look at that like they're doing work to really progress the conversation about obesity and treatments in this space. However, how much of this is just capitalizing on the opportunity that is there? Because this is big business. So let's get into the business case behind Ozempic. One of the first factors when it comes to the business case behind Ozempic is the total addressable market. I mentioned at the start that 1 billion people suffer from obesity in the world, and also 500 million people live with type 2 diabetes today. And this number is only growing. Between the years of 1980 and 2016, the rates of type 2 diabetes quadrupled. And I think we could probably see a similar pattern continue to rise and rise and rise. Another interesting fact about Ozempic is the fact that people have to be on Ozempic for life. For many drugs which are out there, there is not many drugs that people take for their whole lives. Usually it's like, let's take antibiotics for instance. Somebody will take antibiotics, as soon as they're better, they no longer need to take this drug. However, it's been found from different studies and from different people taking the drug that actually if you stop taking Ozempic, you kind of just reverse all of the effects. So for you to maintain that body and for you to maintain that weight loss, you have to continually be taking it for life. Of course, from a patient perspective, this has its own implications, but if we're looking at solely the business case, this creates a massive recurring revenue stream. Because essentially every single month guaranteed, once that's prescribed, if adherence can be met, then it's just a recurring revenue stream for Novo Nordisk. When it comes to this recurring revenue stream, it's really tough because I don't think anybody should be on any medication for their whole life. And I actually think when it comes to Ozempic and the future of weight loss drugs is that the real winners in this space will be the people that can create ecosystems. And by ecosystems, I mean that you essentially take Ozempic or a WeGovy or a similar drug early on in your treatment to help you get going. And then there is an ecosystem which allows you to be able to make lifestyle changes to be able to maintain your weight by yourself without needing to rely on the drug. I think the people that can create that ecosystem and make sure that ecosystem is solid and actually sustainable are the people that actually win in this space. And that's both from a business perspective and from a patient perspective. If you're a patient and you can appreciate that I'm going to take WeGovy or Ozempic for a short period of time, and then in that time it allows me to make the lifestyle modifications that I need to make, I think truly that's where the win is. Another thing that has allowed Novo Nordisk to be the biggest company in Europe at the moment is their first mover advantage. At the moment, they have a patent to produce this drug until 2032. However, competitors like Eli Lilly and Pfizer are lurking in the background. Eli Lilly has already produced their own alternative, however they do not have FDA approval to be able to use it. So Novo Nordisk currently sit in this position where they can capture a huge chunk of market share simply because they were the first to go out to market. They were the first to create this cultural phenomena that everyone's talking about Ozempic, even at places such as the Oscars. The thing that Novo Nordisk are working on at the moment is also looking into, can these GLP-1 peptides also be used in other health areas? Across people who've been taking Ozempic for 5 years, they've found that there is cardiovascular health benefits too. They're also looking into whether this drug could be used for treatment for things such as Alzheimer's and dementia as well. Now, because they have first mover advantage, this could be particularly huge if they can prove there is a use case and there is a space for Ozempic to work in this area. So the business case for a drug like Ozempic is absolutely huge, and this is why the company continues to grow and grow. I think I'm very excited about the potential that GLP-1s have to essentially treat in a whole range of conditions. However, the one thing that I think that we need to do is find a way to create those ecosystems. Without those ecosystems, I think we just create a world where we essentially have people hooked onto these medications for life. Of course, there is a lot of side effects, and I don't necessarily think that people would want to be experiencing those side effects as a result. So Ozempic and WeGovy present an absolutely compelling business case, and it's intertwined with a lot of ethical considerations, such as whether people should be on drugs for the rest of their life, whether the conversation about obesity in popular culture will change in the coming years, and also to suggest whether this is actually an insight into the future of weight loss management. Is it actually a treatment which is very sustainable and people could use, or is this just a shortcut to health and is actually selling people a dream? While this drug offers a lot of promising solutions and a lot of financial rewards in the process, all of these ethical considerations will be key to seeing if this has any long-term impact. I wonder if Novo Nordisk will be able to balance profit with patient needs, and the more competitors in the space, would it actually create a better ecosystem, because essentially that cost of this drug at the moment will just continue to come down and down and down. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the business case behind Ozempic. Do you think that this is a drug which will be beneficial going forward for all of medicine? Or do you think that this is just a fad which is going to quickly die and burn very soon? Let me know in the comments. And if you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching and thank you for tuning in.